What are you wearing? A robe?
This big, like, poncho thing that I found
You found it.
really well that I bought.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising that I would find it like on the street and then wash it and keep it.
It's pretty
So,
gross. Finding furniture on the side of the road's one thing.
uh-huh.
Clothes, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not really much different if the clothes have been put out with the intention of someone finding them. Is it any different than the thrift store? I guess not.
Yeah.
If they're discarded clothes, like it's a nest of a person who was camping out, and then
But you can tell those clothes, like those have like a strange, like caked on shape that they take on versus like clothes that are out there to be taken.
I still wouldn't take it off the street.
I
Going,
took that apron that I found next to the Dunkin' Donuts. Now I have a Dunkin' Donuts apron.
yeah, that's a little more clear of where it came from. It's
Mm-hmm.
also not touching your skin directly unless you're getting into some fetish type thing. Naked baking,
Naked bacon.
naked bake.
Wake it. You wake and you naked bake
On this episode of Nake
with a
Bake,
snake.
fondant.
I'm using vegan marshmallows. Oh, that didn't work at all.
Does anyone like fondant?
You know, I would say no. And then there's that episode where on Sex and the City where Brady is getting baptized and she convinces Carrie to come only because like there'll be cake and that'll have and Carrie's like, well, it had that thick white icing and she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay, then I'm in. And I think, ew, is she talking about fondant? That's so gross.
Do they show the cake in the episode at all?
I don't think so.
I like that your point of view of the world is filtered through Sex in the City.
Well, it's the only time I've ever heard someone refer to what I can assume is fondant and be like, oh, that's the reason. Like, that's a good reason to go.
Fondant's cheating. I would rather a cake not be so smooth looking and taste good.
Well, I
Or-
mean, yeah,
Or I don't want a cake. I know you can eat the fondant, but I
I
don't.
peel it off.
Yeah, so then your cake's like a banana at that point.
Yeah, but you have a frosting or an icing, whichever is which, underneath the fondant. You put the fondant on top.
It's cheating.
I would.
I'd rather.
I would because I don't want it is cheating, but, you know, if you're going for a certain look.
The cake you made for Ellie, was that a fondant cake?
Yeah, it had fondant
I mean, it
on
looked
it.
nice.
Yeah.
For-
That's all I wanted was to look a certain way. Well, and I wanted the inside to taste good, but I didn't like I don't know. I would have I don't remember what we did. Like if I peeled off that fondant off the slices of cake, but I think Ellie liked it. You know, like she has child taste buds who think that tastes good.
The old battle between function and aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for a 7-year-old, the aesthetic is more important. It looks like a unicorn. But I would prefer, to have that 7-year-old make a sloppy ass mess of a cake if it tasted really good. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Same.
Those child baker whizzes that are on that TV show. I'd
Yeah,
rather
my
than-
mom loves those. She loves watching children bake.
I do too, because I like when they lose and they cry. I'm the best. I've been told I'm the best my whole life, and this is the first time you're telling me I'm not. I'm a failure. And then they quit. I wonder how many kids never bake again. Because the lesson is, right, hey, you're good. You're obviously much better than most people at baking, let alone your age set. And, all right, you didn't win the competition. But I wonder if it scars them. And they have an inability to get past the losing. Like, I'm never baking again.
Yeah. And then they go on to be an adult and they start baking again and they rediscover their love for it as an adult.
But it's too late because they're 40. And they can't
Wait, why is it too late when you're 40?
Because it's too late. Have you ever, I was reading something the other day. I can't remember who it was about. But it was something like they started when they were 36, which was already very late.
Yeah.
So it's just the way society operates. You want to try something new and become good at it. If you're 40, it's too late for you.
No, it just depends. So, like, I said something similar to this to my friend Nico, who's French, and he has 2 boys, and they don't speak French. And we were saying, like, oh, I was saying it's too late now for them, and what I meant was that it's too late for them to learn it more easily, just like through like accretion or whatever that's called. Like you just it absorbs into you and you just know how to do it. But what came across was like, oh, it's too late for them, like they'll never learn it. And Nico was like, well, that's not true. Like I speak English, I'm fluent in English, and I started when I was in my 30s or whatever. So it's never too late. Depends on what it is. Like if it's something that takes a lifetime to master,
your dream of stand-up comedy, it's too late. You can't be a stand-up.
I could do it now.
It's too late. Nobody wants to see old person on stage.
No, that's not true.
You're done.
All right. I don't want to be a stand. Wait, why am I even defending this? I don't want to be a stand-up comedian.
The shallow nature of our society says you're too old. People have their best material when they're younger, and then they.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They
have no point of view or no experience with the world. That's when they have their best observations.
Yeah, but it creates a motivation for them to. Sometimes it's even throwing a fit, I think. Early art when you're younger. It's a big
and
fuck
then it
you.
gets more like focused or something.
It's a big fuck you to the world quite often. Mm-hmm. And then that's what people like. I don't fully agree with that. I think that if you've never done anything with any kind of large success, then you could certainly pull that off later in life. I do think it's harder to maintain that, though. So when you're younger and you have it then, to recreate it. It's the newness thing mostly. It's like, oh, look at this new thing on the scene. I like this. And then your shine wears off and people don't care about your new stuff.
Well, we're really talking about how other people are you're really angling this as how other people perceive what you're doing.
I'm talking about like as a career. So then it's dependent. If you want to move into something later in life as a career, it's harder.
Uh-huh.
You can, you can learn to bake and be the best baker in the world. You could start at any certain point. But if you're moving into something because you want to make it financially valuable in your life, then it's harder because it does depend on other people. Like, yeah, you're too old. That's why your stand-up career will go nowhere.
Oh, man.
I wonder if I
actually care.
I wonder if I tried stand-up.
You'd be fucking great at it.
No,
Greg.
no.
Shut up.
I wouldn't be good at it.
Yes, you would.
No.
Yes, you fucking would. Because you do things and maybe it's just because I love you, but you have a way, and I feel the same way about your writing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it comes across naturally. You don't have to do much to push that part of you that is interesting and different and weird and eccentric and sad and beautiful and funny. Like, you don't have to push that forward. It just comes out really easily. And I think that other people would see that.
Yeah, but stand-up is a totally different thing. You have to, be
I gave you a really great compliment just now, and you just like...
Well, thank you. It meant something. I felt something when you were saying it. It's like,
okay,
it's very nice of you to say. Ah, fuck, the sun's coming out. I was just talking about how it was a beautiful day because it was overcast and it was cool. It was fall-like. And now
it's been really nice.
And the fucking sun has come out. But anyway, going back to that.
So rude.
Stand-up is I don't like being on stage, so
yeah.
I don't think it would ever work. Outside of the whole having to be good at it.
Maybe that's why you'd be good.
It's too late. Too late. Me barking at 39 years old. Free comedy. Just so I can get my free stage time for an open mic because I don't want to pay the $5 for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I guess I would just pay the $5 for 10 minutes and not bark.
I would never bark.
Free comedy. You like comedy? No.
No. How many people actually respond to that? Positively, I mean.
Free comedy. Nah, no thanks. You don't like comedy? No, I like comedy. I just don't like you.
Like, no, I just don't trust you.
Yeah. They pressure you into it.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Dave, who was trying comedy before his, dreams were crushed, and now he just sits at home as a 45-year-old and has photo shoots with his cat. And I'm not lying about that. He just sent me all these pictures. They're very nice.
Dave also
photos.
makes music, right, at home?
Yeah.
That's Dave. Okay.
I told him, I said, you're the true creative of everyone because you keep doing it. And you have zero audience. You have
I want
zero-
to be part of his audience. Could he send that to me too?
Look at this. This is him.
It's amazing.
It says he took a BuzzFeed caption. Maybe it's not BuzzFeed.
Right.
It says 10 photos you, a man, should not put in a dating app profile. And it's a picture of him wearing a Russian hat. And then there's this one that says baseball is boring. And he's got this sweater. And
Is he bad to like? What's wrong? What?
women find single men with cats less dateable than those with dogs. This is from the New York Post. And he took his picture with his cat. But it's nice. It's got like a seamless in the back, and he's lit it so there's a gradient.
Yeah, it
to
looks really good. It looks professional.
This is what he sends me this morning.
Why does he keep doing that same face?
Oh,
What are all those? Where are all those?
Oh, that was just a excerpt from a book.
Oh, okay. Excerpt.
What is excerpt?
Excerpt. It's like saying receipt. Receipt.
Excerpt.
Excerpt.
Nobody says excerpt.
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 Anyway.
Silent.
What was I-
Silent. Silent, but loud letters at the end of a word.
What was I saying before that? Before I told you that Dave does that? Oh, his stand-up comedy. He never barked. He refused to do that. He said it was demeaning. I mean, stand-up in general is demeaning. You get up until you're good. It's a very demeaning, humiliating process that you have to be willing to put up with. And then he left New York crushed and became a librarian. Got a master's degree in library arts or something. And then
do you do with that?
Then translated that into a government job and worked for the federal government and retired with a decent amount of money and a pension. And now he's doing what you're supposed to do in life. Living with a cat. Owning a house. No kids, though. No kids.
Yeah,
so.
I did the opposite.
Yeah, what did you do?
I did what I was supposed to do. And now I'm trying to like find my balance outside of that.
Selfish. You locked
What is?
You doing this now. You should have done it before. You locked yourself in to a death sentence.
I mean, it could be looked at as selfish. I get that. But it's what else? I mean, in a way.
Fuck it, it's not
selfish.
whatever. Anyone who says it's selfish can suck it.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to think of it as both, from all the sides. That makes sense.
If
But
you-
also, what am I supposed to do? Like, not live a life? You only get one.
things aren't mutually exclusive. You can
Right.
still love people in your life, mainly your kids, and be a good mother and be selfish.
Yeah.
It's not like you abandon people. Some people do that. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm getting with this Spanish man and going to ride in his sidecar across the country.
Right. See, now that's selfish. I'm leaving my children behind because I have to, like, that's not the right way to go either.
Abandoning everyone because this.
What's kind of interesting is like during my weeks with the kids, I am like focused on them, doing all the things, being responsible. And then Friday comes and I feel like I got to fit in everything on a Friday night, which is kind of what I did this Friday night. But you know what I mean? Like I had to, I need to find my balance between those two sides of myself.
Extreme. Well, try your stand-up comedy. What's the closest open mic?
I don't want to do that. Why are you pushing me that I'm going to be a stand-up comedian?
There was one time Dave returned to the stage. He moved back to Richmond, Virginia. And he decided to do one open mic, and he told the person that his name was Greg Russ. And then he sent me a video of the intro. It's like, please welcome to the stage. I don't know if
I love that.
I don't know if I still have that. What can I say? He likes me. I'm his only true friend. I don't know if that's true.
Aw.
I'm his only true friend. Where is that video? Looking through the history here. There we are standing in front of Jersey Boys. Went to see Jersey Boys together. Oh, what a night.
Man, Frankie Valli's really talented.
I know, but if he didn't have that, what would he have been?
A goon.
Yeah. He would have been some low-level mafia boss's little errand boy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they would have him sing on the side. Sing
Right.
for us, Frankie.
Yeah. Oh, come on, guys.
I know, I'm going to spend too much time looking for this. This is exciting material.
I wanna know. My favorite is the Grease song. Grease is the word, which is written by the Bee Gees.
Is it? You should look it up.
God, I fucking love that song. Here's something, and you go away. Conventionality. Something about yesterday. We can be who we are. In other words, no. Grease is the word. It's the word. It's the word that you heard. It's got mood. It's got, I don't know the words. Meaning. Grease is the time. Is the place. Is the notion.
My God. Or not.
All right, you don't
singing.
need to find it. We know.
I'm just saying that this history of our photos and pictures shared on text,
It's a lot.
it goes back years and years. I don't delete anything.
You have to search. Why are you going like?
How can you
why are
search? You can't
scrolling?
search. How do you
Yes, you
search?
can.
What do you search for?
Okay, so on your main page of your messages, right?
It's not
where it has a list
titled. It's not called Dave Goes on Stage.
Listen. Go to your messages, right? So it has the list of all the people, and then pull down, and then press, and then search, and then search like stage or something.
Yeah, but it's not named that.
Yeah, but it will be in the text. It will search your texts for the word stage, and then it will show you like 3 top options, and then you can go see all, and then you can scroll through that to see messages from him specifically if they don't show up in the top 3.
Well, I'm so far dedicated to this and so far down at this point. Oh, now I've reached the bottom. All right, I'll never find it. That's fine. The audio wouldn't be worth it that much. Let me see if I search stage. What comes in? No, that's never going to work.
Yes, it will.
It's not
I'm telling you.
It's not going to work. Can't you just see the videos? Isn't there? Why don't they break it into videos? It's photos. Here's photos. A photo section. Here's all the photos you've shared.
You're not doing what I said.
Here's all the songs he sent me.
No. Wait. Don't look on his thing.
Here's the song he wrote with... He took my noises and wrote a song with it. I think we should change the theme. We should change.
Absolutely, we should. I was just thinking you should send that to Jared so that it could be part of your one of your intros.
I think One Topic's theme is changing. At least this week it will be.
Okay. Or maybe that should be Greg's choice,
I need to just email this to myself. All right, we'll get into the show here in a second, I swear. You have anything else you want to say? You excited about the Braves going to the World Series?
Are they?
Which means tomorrow on the radio show. May as well not even join.
It's going to be a lot of that.
Don't even join. The last time the Braves went to the World Series was 1999, which means more time has passed.
Oh, I remember that.
More time has passed since the last time they went to the World Series to now than when you were born to that year.
Wow.
You were only 17 then. Yeah, it's a very long time.
No, I was 18 by then.
In 1999? No. You weren't 18 until...
17. You're right, sorry. I was thinking 2000.
What a chump. Unbelievable. Yeah, I was thinking 2000, even though you said 1999. Here comes some kind of bridge. Okay.
I love that.
Should we start it? All right, we'll start it.
All right.
With that song.
Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ, and it is pronounced
Grocery.
not
She's dying.
not grocery.
Grocery. Grocery.
Why does she sound like that? Is it played at 0.5 speed?
It's there's a slow option to play it,
Grocery.
Oh.
but then there's this
Grocery.
grocery.
I say grocery. Grocery. I'm going to the grocery store. You want anything?
Grocery store with my
I'm
coupons.
going to the grocery store.
With my coupons.
And I'm going to get a buggy at the grocery store.
Yeah, buggy's a little different. That's just preference. Different words. This is different pronunciation.
What about that thing that you get for your car that you have to have?
Muffler.
No.
Muffler.
If you get in an accident, it's a good thing that you have what?
Earbag.
So that someone will pay for your repairs.
Insurance.
No, say it for real though.
Insurance.
Insurance, yeah. Now, if you're from the South, you say insurance.
Yes.
If I go to Chick-fil-A, and people from the South go to Chick-fil-A.
Well, you're just putting the stress at some other point, a different
Yeah, the
syllable.
emphasis. Still, is that not a pronunciation issue?
It is. It's just a different.
Grocery.
Crick.
Grocery store.
Crick.
Creek?
Yeah.
That person
Crick.
says crick?
Crick.
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 No!
Crick.
Crick.
The British pronunciation on slow is good with everything. What's a long word that we can think of before we get into today's topic with multiple syllables?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
No, that's too much.
Colloquially.
I can't spell
Or
that.
colloquial.
I can't spell that off the top of my
I
head.
can't either.
Superfluous.
Ooh!
Oh, but they don't. Where's the British learn to pronounce? Here we go.
Superfluous.
Superfluous.
Superfluous. That's how I learned how to spell definitely. I just say in my head definitely.
Yeah, sometimes you need those tricks because people want to put the A in where it doesn't belong with the.
I can't spell steel without first spelling steel. No matter which variation it is, I have to spell it wrong first to know what's right.
Superfluous.
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 It doesn't
Oh,
work.
that one's not as good.
No, it's not as good. But anyway, that's not what this topic is. Steel. Steel is wrong.
And then I'm like, oh, that's not the right one. That's the metal one.
Earbag.
Earbag. Grocery. Grocery.
Anyway, what is today's topic? You've been.
I would like to talk about
You've been rummaging.
foraging.
Yeah, you've been rummaging around the forest floor.
Yeah,
Foraging.
foraging. Didn't we finish last week's show with foraging?
No, we just talked about how that was supposed to be the topic, and then we never actually got into it.
I loved last week's
Forage.
show.
Learn to pronounce forage.
Forage.
The shorter ones are better.
Forage.
Forage.
What if we just spent an hour doing this?
I wish you could slow it even more.
I mean, we could if I recorded it.
No.
Porridge.
Stop. No.
All right. No more. I will stop with this. I promise.
Finished.
Didn't come out so well. Anyway. So what the hell's going on with you? You go to the forest, you get lost in the suburban triangles of trees that exist, where it's not a real forest, it's just the trees that were lucky not to be cut down when they were building some houses, and you feel as though you're in the middle of nowhere because there's a creek and You look for
Crack.
you look for acorns. Is this what's happening?
For the upcoming winter, I
Is
bury
this-
them in different random locations in any sort of pile of dirt I can find.
Let's see if you can remember where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that the topic shouldn't be, your
What the hell is wrong with autumn?
insanity?
Yeah. It's actually pretty cool. I'm out just in my neighborhood. And once you start realizing that food is actually everywhere, it's really interesting once you start, like, once you notice them, then it's everywhere. Like, you just are passing by all of these things that are actually edible and are really no different from something that you could get, a salad at the grocery store. It's the same thing.
You really don't
It's
have
just
any
growing
money.
in your yard.
You're broke, aren't you? You're completely broke.
It's not that. It really isn't. There's just something about it that's really appealing to me. Okay, so for example,
When you have no money, you realize that the leaves on the trees can stand in for lettuce, even though they don't taste as good.
I made a tea out of some bark I found.
It's all food.
Well, it's just interesting to know about it. It's not like
There's
so
receptacles where people throw away scraps, and you collect them. The human raccoon. That's what you've become.
yeah. Oh, raccoons are so cute. I would love to be a human raccoon.
Are raccoons cute? Foxes are cuter. I think foxes and raccoons are very similar, and they both
But
scavenge.
raccoons have those little hands.
This is true, but they have those ugly faces. Those
Raccoons
flat,
do not have an ugly
those
face.
flat, fat faces.
That's
Where
adorable.
the fox has got that sleek, pointy snout. And those,
When has anything been sleek and adorable? Never.
those? What are you
Fat,
talking?
flat face sounds way cuter. No one says like, "Oh, that baby is so cute. It's so sleek."
Yeah, they would.
Sleek baby.
At least they wouldn't say.
They want a fat, chubby, cute baby, and that's cute.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
win.
just something people say when there's an ugly baby involved.
All right, don't spin these words to make yourself right. You know that you misspoke, and that pandas, raccoons are actually super cute, way cuter than a fox.
Man, I have a friend who has 2 kids, and they're both ugly, and I hope that they grow up to not be ugly.
Oh, really?
Does it change? Can you be really ugly as a baby and grow out of your ugliness?
Well, that's what I've heard. Is that if you have a beautiful baby, you
Grows
have
into
ugly adults.
All right, good. I mean, serves them right. Because I think of these poor creatures, these small things that have just the most horrifying faces you can imagine, and think
Horrifying?
about how bad their lives are going to be growing up. Because when you're a kid, you don't think about such things, and there's that moment, that first time that someone makes a comment, and it all comes crashing down around you, and you think, "My God." And then it's suddenly introduced into your little brain that's something you have to think about and worry about, and it destroys the rest of your life. So,
Okay, I mean it's taking it a little far.
It's not. There's that moment in life where everything
You
is
had
great.
that moment in life.
Everything is great until it's not. And you're like, what the fuck? This is what things are? This is who you are? But anyway, there's a lot of food around. There's a lot of food available in the triangle that you live in.
So it started off by me noticing that all of these nuts were falling on the ground. So I don't know if it's happening. I don't know if I've even really ever noticed it anywhere else, but especially here, there's a hickory tree that is just dropping just so much on the ground. It's called a mockernut hickory. And they grow these green like balls on the tree, and I would see them out there, and I'm like, what is that thing? And then the sidewalks are littered with them, and they kind of break open the green outer shell at some point into these 4 sections, and then inside of that is a nut.
I know, I'm reading about it. Hickory nuts are one of nature's greatest hidden treats.
I'm telling you, it's basically a walnut with a thick shell.
It says it's definitely, how do you spell definitely?
Definitely.
Worth the trouble to crack open. The thick husk protects the nut's rich, sweet, calorie-dense pecan flavored. I did that on purpose, by the way. I don't say pecan.
Pecan. I say it differently. So I say pecans if I'm eating them, but if I have like the cookie, I say the pecan sandies. I don't say pecan sandies.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Pecan sandy.
I hate both pronunciations. I try to that's one of those words I would avoid pronouncing.
Yeah, because pecan sounds like you're trying to say like vase.
Yeah, well, apparently there's a calorie-dense pecan-flavored interior.
They're excellent. They're way better than walnuts. They're really oily and they're delicious.
Then why aren't these things packaged and sold?
Maybe because they are difficult to open. Because they really are. They don't have the great separation that if like a regular walnut that you'd have like on your Aunt Susan's like Christmas, visiting her house, the bowl of nuts. It's not easy to crack open, and there aren't these gigantic pieces that you can get out. They are kind of more difficult to do, but they are so good. And they're still everywhere. I've collected hundreds of them.
Are you feeding these to your kids? I can imagine their stories when they're older. It's like, yeah, when I used to go to my mom's, we would just eat hickory nuts. That's
all I gave them.
It was always hickory nuts and noodles.
Yep, just a bowl full of nuts. So
ramen and hickory nuts.
No, they love them.
And every once in a while we get some Jello.
And the friends want to open up the nuts, and so I let them do that. They don't do a very good job at it, but
yeah, they have little weak hands.
Well, you have to get a hammer.
Oh boy.
I'm out on my back patio porch thing, and I'm hammering away. I had a neighbor come down. She was going to her car. She's like, "What are you building?" Like, I'm trying to crack open these nuts.
What did she say?
We had a really great conversation. We had a whole big convo about what those nuts were, and then she told me about her life. It was great, but it's just surprise. Okay, so that's how it started. I was like, I'm collecting all of these nuts. This is awesome.
But how did it really start? So were you going on walks?
I mean, they're just everywhere. It's unavoidable. If you're walking on the sidewalks around here, when I walk Ellie to school, when I bring her home from school, they're everywhere.
I wonder if these are the things that are denting my fucking car. I stopped parking under trees on the street. Sometimes I give up good spots because it's under a big tree. There's been several little dents that have appeared on the hood of my car because shit's obviously falling from these trees.
You should look for them. Look for it. Okay, so I could tell you more offline about how to
so you're walking.
This thing.
You're walking and you see these spewing about.
Yeah, these balls.
Is that a word, spewed?
These like tennis balls everywhere.
Hold on.
Strewn, not spewed.
Well, I was thinking spewed about, like the tree spewing them. That's my new word. They're strewn about after being spewed. So they're spewing about. Okay. So and you wanted to do some research into these
we were
nuts.
Opening them up. It started out, me and Ellie just found like a big rock next to my car, and we just banged the rock on top of it and realized that there was stuff inside and that seemed like a delicious looking nut, and we didn't eat it because I was afraid that it was, whether it was edible or not. So then I did a bunch of research and found out that it's definitely edible. And so we spent a bunch of time just collecting them, just collecting so many. And then you let them dry out a little bit because if they're still in their little protective green ball, then they'll still be like a little wet. And so you let them dry and you crack them open, and then you just like dig out all this meat. I put it in a little bowl, and then I transfer it to a little bag, and then I roast it in the oven, like on the lowest setting for just a little time to dry it out, because otherwise it'll get weird in the bag. But if you want to store it long term, then you have to dry it out. Anyway, so that's how it started. And then I started seeing another like fruit over here next to my house, like next to my apartment. Like, what is that? Why have I never seen this before? And what is that? I go up to it, and it's a persimmon tree. There's persimmons all over the ground, and I fucking hate persimmons. They're disgusting. Persimmons, I don't understand who eats them and how anyone can eat them, because they taste like your mouth is covered in like gritty sand. When you take a bite out of them, they're not good.
I can't say I've ever had a persimmon.
You should do it just to experience this wild thing that happened.
I'm not into fruit overall, which is a strange thing.
It should not be called a fruit. It should be called like Satan's
balls.
Sure. Satan's fruit.
Satan's swollen anal glands.
Yes, it's a troll fruit. Yeah, it's a fruit that it's a troll.
So mature.
On the fruits.
Satan's swollen anal glands. There it is. That's the best I've got. Bow, bow, bow. End the show.
Satan's hemorrhoid. Anyway, so I read that you're supposed to that sort of sensation goes away when they've been on the ground, and have gotten squishy and like overripe, I guess.
But if you pick
and
them
I still
directly,
tried it, and it was horrible.
You pick them directly from the tree.
If they're worse.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So if you get it from the tree, or even just like pull it gently, but even if it's fallen recently from the tree. Anyway, the point is that, wow, all of a sudden I'm noticing that. Okay. And then I go for like a little walkabout. There's a pond near my apartments. I start walking around the pond and start seeing all kinds of other little things growing on bushes, on trees. I start identifying them, and I find it's called autumn olives. I don't know what that is, but they are going to be ripe around the first frost. I found Japanese crabapple, which is also going to be ripe around the couple first frosts. Then I found a juniper tree, or a bush. I collected all this juniper. It's been really, really exciting to find all this stuff. What else did I find? The juniper.
So what are you eating? So you hate the persimmons, but you found them, but you're not eating them. You're not going to make a persimmon pie?
People make, I don't know what they do with persimmon. I want it to die. But I was just more excited that I noticed it. Oh, I found a fucking fig tree. There's a fig tree in my apartment complex just hanging out, just being a fig tree. I picked them. They are so delicious. But I'm just saying, there's so much food all around. It's everywhere. You can eat the crap. I found dogwood fruit, which is also not that good, but I understood it. Like, it tasted a way that I understood. That I was like, oh, I could understand where people
Did you find
maybe enjoy this, but I didn't like it.
Honeysuckle?
There is no honeysuckle here.
You should plant one next to the fig tree.
Isn't that interesting, though? A fig tree.
And you should plant more autumn olives. You could have autumn's orchard of autumn olives.
You know what else I found? I found a pawpaw tree. Pawpaws are a delicious little fruit. It's like sort of like a mango and a papaya sort of flavor.
Ugh. Sounds disgusting.
I know, I don't love those flavors, but it was cool to find a pawpaw tree.
That's not, again, this is not to take away from the excitement that you're feeling over finding these things. And again, fruits in general I find to be mostly disgusting, which is a strange thing because I like sweet. It's nature's candy. But fuck it all. I don't like the squishiness of it. Bananas. I like bananas. Though I don't.
It's not even really the point as to like, oh, all these things are so delicious. It's more the point that there are a lot of things all around us, and we only think that they come, like, our only food source comes from a store or something we have to purchase.
Well, because it's limited. You don't like the taste of half these things. You can't taste the autumn olives yet, right? Also known as the Japanese,
or the Japanese crabapple,
or the Japanese silverberry is also known as the autumn olive.
Oh, cute. I did pick some dandelion root. And I'm making a dandelion root bitters out of that with some like ginger and orange peel. I used the juniper. I'm trying to make my own gin. I made my own like spiced gin.
Well, at first I wanted to make fun of you quite a bit for this, thinking of you living destitute, needing to find alternatives to nourish your children. Mm-hmm. And look at all the foods around, and then, trumping it up by saying, this is amazing. But really, it's just because you don't have the money to go to the Aldi. And so I was worried. Though I still do. I mean, I know it's no different. I was just thinking about food in general and where it comes from. Even a potato I was eating, like a part of home fries. Like, where did this potato grow? Where did it come from? Where was it born? And what was its travels? Because this idea, you're mentioning all these things, and in my mind, it's like, gross. I don't know. There's all that pollution around, all those cars driving. But it really isn't any different than something being grown, by a farmer.
Yeah.
I know they put pesticides on it.
This has no pesticides.
Yeah, but it could also have bugs. I'm surprised you haven't found a persimmon that's been infested with some kind of creatures and you bring it into your house.
Well, they did. It had ants inside it. There were some spiders that I collected when I grabbed all those juniper berries.
Like you collected the spiders.
Yeah, well, I did. They were like making little nests, like a web inside the jar that I put them in. So I rescued those and put them outside.
I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that you have to pay attention to, because without care, Finding the fig tree is interesting to me if it's growing figs, because I do feel like without proper care and tending to, that a lot of these things don't grow to their potential.
But that's the thing. That's sort of the idea that we have about where our food has to come from. It has to come from someone who it has to come from a plant that has been purposefully put there, cared for, tended to, like you said, and those things existed. They were things. They lived on the earth before they were commercially farmed. Do you know what I mean? So why wouldn't something like that grow?
I'm thinking about the pig too that my bacon came from, and I was just eating its fat. Mm-hmm. The fact that somebody saw the fat and said, "Sell that also." Okay. And then people really, the bacon craze that kicked off in the 2000s, maybe the teens, whatever, 2009, whenever it came to light.
Yeah.
I know people.
It was the Jim Gaffigan revolution of bacon.
It was the power that guy had. But I was wondering about the pig, where when it was born, it was a little baby, and its mom was happy. Aww. Maybe the mom wasn't happy because pigs are.
If it's a factory farm, I don't know how happy.
Yeah,
they might be.
Well, I think the pig mom was happy that she had a baby, but maybe the pig mom knew what her fate was. It's like, I hate that you're doing this to me. And if you eat a hamburger, it's like, what 65 different cows are mixed into this? What were their lives? There is quite the separation, and when you don't think about it, it's much easier, and you just put a lot of trust into it. Where there's no reason for me to feel like it's dangerous to eat these things that you're finding if they're not poisonous, and it seems like you're doing the research.
I felt the same way that, like, how do I know that I can eat these things? And I just spend a lot of time figuring out what the plant is and making sure that it is something that is edible, but I think I'm getting less afraid of eating what's around me than I think, like, where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's the point that I'm making. Is it's interesting because obviously there's nothing wrong with eating these things. You wash them; they don't have the bugs in them, as long as they're not poisonous.
Too, the juniper berries, I didn't understand what I was doing at first. I was collecting, like, the little twigs that they were attached to, and they all have this, like, sort of white powder all over them, all over the berries, which they aren't really berries. They're called, like, cones or something. But anyway, and the real juniper berries that are ripe enough are blue, and the ones I was collecting weren't ripe yet. They were still green. But then I found out that white powder on them is wild yeast. And so what I'm going to do is, when those crab apples come into season, or the Bradford pear, there's a Bradford pear tree outside of my house, and you expect the pears to be a certain type of, like, you expect a pear to look like what we're used to a pear looking like. These don't look like that, and that's okay. So I'm waiting for them. Like, they look right now like they should be edible, but they're not. They're, like, sour and gross and weird. And it's really not until, like, the middle of winter that they're going to be ready and ripe. And they're not going to look, they're going to look dark and, like, maybe not what you're supposed to be eating as, like, a ripe fruit. But apparently they're good. So I'm going to try those. I'm going to take those, and I'm going to try make a Bradford pear cider using my wild yeasted juniper. Isn't that cool to do? What a fun thing.
It is cool to do. The more you talk about this and the more that you're into it, I'm thinking that for whatever reason, that initial urge is to make fun of it. And I think about people seeing you walking around, foraging, grabbing all these things. And if you're talking to them about this, there's probably an initial reaction to make fun of you. Mm-hmm. Or if they don't know you, they think you're the crazy lady. That's the lady who, grabs the autumn berries, autumn olives.
Just hanging around the lake.
Looking
at, because it takes a long time to identify it, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll stand by this plant and I'll take a lot of pictures of it using, like, Google Lens, and trying to find exactly what this plant could be, and, like, researching it and stuff. So I am standing in, like, one place getting mosquito bites just
to figure out if the autumn olives are. Apparently they taste like nothing else. Sweet, tart, and pleasantly astringent.
What is astringent? That sounds bad.
Well, let's do a quick search to see the definition of astringent. Maybe we can get the British pronunciation of it also while we're at it.
Astringent.
Astringent definition.
Did you put taste? Astringent taste?
Causing the contraction of skin cells and other body tissues.
Delicious.
But of taste or smell, slightly acidic or bitter. Slightly.
Okay.
So it could be good.
Astringent.
And let's put this in slow motion.
Astringent.
So there you go.
Astringent.
Astringent. But, no,
So,
as
yeah.
I'm saying, the initial reaction, but hearing your joy in it, and it's something that interests you. I'm
Can I
happy
tell you
about
another
it.
thing I found?
Listen to this excitement. Listen to what you've got going on, which I think is
Yeah.
great. It's something that you've found that is occupying your time and enriching your brain and life, and leading to other areas of expansion. Like you're gonna make this yeasty Bradford pear tea,
No, it's cider.
cider. Sorry,
Like an alcoholic cider. Like
My-
I'm gonna ferment it.
my bad. And
Also, I found rose hips. Do you know what rose hips are?
no, I have no clue.
Me either. I didn't know what they were. So again, because now I feel like I'm looking around I'm looking at plants around me in a different way. I noticed that all of the dead or the done blooming rose bushes and stuff that are around, they've left behind this like bulb behind the place where the petals were. And I took a couple because I didn't know. I was like, what is this? And then I realized with research that they're rose hips, and that they actually kind of turn into sort of what I think is going to be like a berry. They like, right now they're really hard, and I think eventually they're going to get softer. And then they provide like interesting flavor to things.
What do you do with them at that point? You chop them up?
Well, again, I could use it in something to make, I don't know yet, but I'm going to collect, I'm going to find out. I'm going to collect it, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to do it. What
Are
I
you
was going
storing
to
this
say
in
too,
jars, mason jars?
yeah,
with-
I've been
With
like
masking
keeping my
tape?
pasta. I've been keeping my pasta, anything glass. I've been keeping it and cleaning it and using it to, like I used it to make that gin. It was really interesting, actually. I put a ton of, it's just vodka, juniper berries, orange peel. I put a crushed cardamom seed, and a cinnamon stick, surprisingly. And it is so good. I had made it first with just the orange peel and the juniper because I thought, I don't understand this like cinnamon stick deal, because I looked it up online. I was like, cinnamon stick? I don't know. And it tasted really fiery and hot, and it didn't really taste good. And then I put that cinnamon stick in it, and it just changed everything. Like it brought this roundness to the flavor that I was not expecting. And it's so, so good. It's really yellow, which doesn't look as appealing, but that's because it's not distilled or something. But
Are you
still,
worried
really
with
cool.
making your own booze? Like that's something that I guess you don't know the alcohol content. If
Yeah.
you're
I mean, you can sort of tell by, I think what will happen is that it will get fizzy because of the fermentation process, and it's not a distilled alcohol, so it's not going to be like moonshine. It's going to be like a wine-ish thing.
is there a point you can become very alcoholic? Like
I
where-
guess if you keep feeding it, right? Because the yeast eats the sugar and produces, I forget, the sugar. I forget. I have to. I'm not there yet, but I forget the process. How like the sugar turns into alcohol, or however it ferments makes the alcohol.
I mean, I have no knowledge on it, so I don't know even the process. I know,
But I'll figure it out. But I don't want it to be like, I'm not trying to make moonshine.
I know the most basic. I guess that's another thing when you're consuming things. It's like, when do these go bad? What kind of molds grow on them? Do they switch and then suddenly become poison? But this is all,
Well, yeah.
I don't know why jumping to a worst case scenario. I think it all stems from being a kid and seeing some beautiful berries. Like, don't eat those, poison. And so then you just,
Yeah, we are taught that. Like everything you see is poisonous when that is not the case. And some things are poisonous, so you have to be careful. Like
I think that's
the
why it's
difference-
easy. It's like, don't eat
Yeah.
anything. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's a good thing to maybe tell a child not to eat those things. But once you start to recognize things and understand like the difference between something that is poisonous and something that isn't, Yeah, it's not that hard. And it's cool. Like I just noticed too, there are all these white tall plants. They have like a white top to them. And there's one plant that's like that is dangerous. I can't remember what it's called, but then the rest of the species of that type of plant are actually carrots. Like you pull them out of the ground, and they're not like orange, and they're probably skinnier and different, but they're probably between like a carrot and a parsnip, But those are the carrot family, and you can eat them. They're everywhere.
Have you gotten into mushrooms at all?
No, see, I'm in the same camp as like I don't really eat mushrooms. I don't know enough about them, and I feel like I've always been told like don't eat mushrooms because they're poisonous, So because I have so little experience with them, I don't trust myself to find. The only one I know about is the wood ear mushroom.
Oh, those are disgusting.
Oh, I love them.
I don't. Maybe it's the way they were prepared, but I ordered some, from a restaurant, and these are these chewy, almost gelatinous type things.
They are.
Yeah, that guy didn't like it. I couldn't. I'm not a big fan of mushrooms, but I'll eat most mushrooms. But as you were saying, I think that mushrooms too. It's like this knowledge. If you know what you've got and you can identify it, then it's fine. I'm sure that maybe mushrooms. It does seem to be the poison of mushrooms too is even worse. It's like if you eat a poisonous mushroom, then it's gonna really fuck with you. But it all does seem to stem out of, I don't understand it. I don't have this knowledge, so I can't teach it to my kid. The easiest thing to say is just don't stay away from it all. It'll all kill you. It's all bad for you. And then you just accept that and you don't think about what's actually around you. Because, as you tell me all this, I'm learning quite a bit. And I like your enthusiasm with it. It seems to be something that you're interested in and excited about. And it's kind of a shame that this is outside of what you're talking about because you just want to talk about the specifics of what you're finding. But, that initial reaction to mock it and make fun of it, which is what I think people do when they don't understand something even like this. Like, why would you even waste the time? That's useless knowledge.
Right, because you could say, like, go to the store and get 89 cents worth of walnuts and you don't have to do any of the work, but sometimes the journey is the thing. And I don't know. And it really is making me more connected to, A, my surroundings, and B, the time of year that it is, noticing the weather, understanding that the weather has an effect on the environment around me. And it makes me, I don't know, it's like making me look forward to the first frost. It's fun. It's like it's a hobby. It's a overall arcing sort of plan. It's not just like a hobby where it's like I have one project and I'm working on it until it's done. It's like, it's a hobby that includes the cycle of my environment. And it's cool to be sort of connected to that, both through the changes in weather and then just like visually understanding things around me, noticing tree bark and because that's a way to identify. There are some ways to identify different types of trees, and it's like their leaf pattern and how they grow on each little stem of things where leaves are growing, and also like the types of bark that they have. And that's been fun to sort of notice, like, oh, there's that type of tree that has the vertical bark line, or that tree has smooth bark with these weird little pockets of, it's neat to sort of notice that for the first time, maybe ever.
I mean, it goes to show how much is surrounding us at all times that we don't pay attention to. Mm-hmm. Living in a city, while it's not as much nature around, my friend Paul is well versed in trees and moths and plants. And, there's times we walked around parks here in New York and he'll point out which trees are indigenous to the area and which ones were obviously planted by settlers. And you can look at the patterns where they were planted. So this is the way that this was done and they didn't grow naturally. And, I'm very interested in it when I hear about it. But also then when I tell people about it later, I feel this need to preface it with like, he's such a weirdo, but it's so cool. But it's like, why does that need it? Why do I need to call someone a weirdo because they're into something that, does it feel like trivial knowledge that's useless? Is it threatening? It's like, oh, I don't know. That person knows quite a bit, because the truth is I am interested in it. And maybe it's just a defense mechanism because most people aren't. And then they were probably going to make fun of it. So I'm already protecting myself, pretending like, yeah, because the truth is I could really get into some of these things. And, outside of natural things, living in New York, and I know a little bit, not a lot, but if you want to pay attention to the architecture that's around, like there's quite a lot to see and things that people walk past every single day and pay zero attention to because you're so...
No, that's a good point too. Yeah, you notice little architectural things that are on different buildings, and so you can maybe identify either this person was inspired by, yeah, you're right. It just depends on what you start paying attention to.
Yeah, even housing trends at the time, like all of these brownstones are like this because of that, or like buildings when they used to have all the ornate fixtures put on them. I mean, I don't think anything that's being built these days, it's glass structures 100 years in the future, but like, look at this, look at the work that went into this. No one's gonna fucking care. And I think that's the argument against the glass. Like, if new construction knocking down old construction, I think you're always going to have some people like, hey, you're getting rid of history. But if you were putting some thought into that new construction and its whole purpose wasn't just to do it as cheaply as possible and get it up and sell it and make money, and if people were putting some thought into the design and something worthwhile, then a lot of people are like, okay, well, let's let this thing go up. But like always, something was in place before. So I'm sure that some of these buildings that we admire now, something was there previously that someone was like, hey, I like that. Don't knock that down. But at least at this point, there's something worthwhile architecturally, artistically that comes along with them. But I think it's a bigger picture as it ties into you is just, taking in your surroundings. You become so focused on just going through life and what that entails that who knows what's just right outside your door. Yeah,
it's been fun. You're right, though, about the architecture thing. It does connect you to your surroundings instead of just trying to, like you said, being so focused on getting to wherever you're going or doing whatever you're doing. On the way, you could maybe, use your eyes to look around you and feel something and be excited by something that's just there.
I mean, there are little things hidden everywhere, no matter what it is. If it's natural, if it's not, like manhole covers here. Some of them are really old, like 100-something years old. You're like, oh, wow, cool. Look at that thing. That thing's been here through how many people stepping on it, horses clopping on it, cars driving over it. It's like, oh, yeah, well, that thing's still here. But, tunnel vision sets in for the most part. It's like I'm just going to where I'm going. And I don't need to pay.
Our brains filter out so much, that's why tripping is such a thing where people feel like they're experiencing the world in a totally weird way. It's because like your brain's paying attention to more things than it can handle or communicating with different parts of itself or whatever. But if you train your brain to now widen its view, then it's a little more enriching.
Yeah, so I think it's cool that you're doing this.
Thanks.
Even though your kids at some point are going to say, man, well, all we ever used to have was rose hip pie. I don't know.
I'm really bummed actually. Like I not burned, but I like overcooked my walnuts last week. They're still good, but they just look too dark. It's like a thing that's haunting me. So I want to make more so that I can make another batch of them that aren't so burnt.
I'm still surprised that they're not, even if they're hard to open, there's machines that could do that and then throw them into a bag.
Well, there's also, which is I think a little bit, at least up here, there's something called black walnut. And my neighbor collected a bunch at her mom's house. And she brought them and they stained my hand so much. Like it's still like dark. This has been over a week that my hand is still dyed from this black walnut. And she's not really sure what to do with them. I Googled it and looked it up. But it's like sort of like a family tradition for some people to collect the black walnuts, but they're way more difficult. You have to like wash them and dry them and do all these weird things and they stain you. These are just like the mocker nuts are just really hard to get into, but they're really satisfying and delicious.
So you're not worried about winter when all the stuff starts to die And then there's nothing
Well,
left.
that's the thing. Apparently there's food all winter. We're not in the Arctic, where it's like I have to survive off of fat from the eyeball of a rabbit. There's lots of things that come into season in the late fall and the early winter, which is, like I said, those plants that I found around the lake, and who knows what else. So,
Well, if there's ever an apocalypse and the Aldi shuts down,
come to me. I got my mocker nut.
don't. You got to protect that with your life because everyone will be coming to you to kill you and steal it.
Apparently, the walnuts that I'm opening, they're like, I think you read it. It's really high calorie.
Yes, that's what it said. I don't know what that means because it didn't give me any numbers, but high calorie.
Yeah, really high. Well, you can tell too. Like it's really oily. It's
that
really interesting. They're really good.
That nut meat energy.
So listen, if any of you are out there and you see things, check it out. Google it. There's something called plantain that's literally everywhere. It's called plantain leaves or whatever, and there's a bunch of different kinds, but you'll recognize it once you start looking for it and seeing it. And it's supposed to help with like digestion. If you have like an upset stomach, you could eat it. It just tastes. I've tasted it. It just tastes like lettuce, like not like iceberg, but it tastes like a mixed green.
I love iceberg.
Iceberg crunchy water.
It's delicious. That's the best lettuce.
It's the most nothing lettuce can be.
It's the texture. I like the texture of water chestnuts.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are delicious.
But those have a flavor.
I like the
whereas
crunch.
iceberg doesn't have a flavor.
No, iceberg doesn't have a flavor. That's why you need the dressing, which I wonder what nature's dressing is. You take the goose poop and you smush it and strain it. And the oils that come out are a natural Italian dressing. Mm-hmm. Do you have to avoid all that goose poop? Are you stepping in it?
There is some goose poop around that lake.
Have they tried to attack you? Do they honk
No,
at you?
Thank goodness. I do think about that when I see them all like in a little herd over there. I'm like, here I come.
Looking for your autumn olive and the goose come attacking you and you screaming and running.
Just identifying plants. Living my best life.
You should watch to see what they eat. They'd lead you right to some things.
They eat bugs, don't they?
Is that what gooses? Geese?
I think so.
Is that what they eat?
Yeah.
Bugs? I
think.
They don't have teeth. They just swallow them whole, I guess.
Oh, really?
What do geese eat? Ducks and geese also eat a lot of insects, yeah. So feeding them mealworms or freeze-dried crickets. Well, there you go. That's food choice, too. Barley, oats, bird seed. But this is stuff you're feeding them. I want to know what they eat.
Yeah.
All they eat's bugs, huh? They don't go and eat...
I don't think so.
Berries?
Yeah, they eat bugs. I'm sure if they came across a berry or two.
Leaves. It's a lot of bugs, I feel, to have to catch them. I mean, they'll eat fruits if you give it to them. All right. Well, that's interesting. See, I don't know anything, especially about nature.
Yeah.
I was watching stories from behind the zoo yesterday on Animal Planet.
What is that?
It's just about some zoo in Australia and what goes on behind the scenes. It's mostly, we're trying to get these animals to mate. That's what every time that's what it came down to.
Why is it so hard for animals to freaking mate?
That's what I was thinking about. Is
it because they're in captivity?
Sometimes I do think that is part of it, but like their habitats were so specific.
Yeah.
That people have ruined those habitats. But also it's like, why is it like I was reading about this one bird that has a giant beak, kind of like a toucan, but it's got like another beak looking thing on top of its head about the same size. And the female builds a nest inside a hollowed out trunk of a tree and then closes up that entrance with its feces and some other stuff that becomes like a concrete and leaves just a little slit in there so it can breathe and the male can bring it food. And it's like, okay, I understand that humans coming in and destroying the trees that you made these nests in because they're so fucking specific has destroyed your population. Yeah. But also, how big could the population really even get? And why did it form that way? What a strange... And I'm not saying that preservation shouldn't happen, But also,
Was
it's
it
like,
for protection of the?
I mean, sure, yeah, it does seem like it's like you're in there and the things can't bother you.
Where does the dude live?
The dude's the one getting food at that point. It runs
I
around.
know, but not constantly. He has
lives
to have
in
a
the-
break.
it lives
Go
in the
home at the end
tree.
of the day.
Yeah, it probably just lives in a normal nest on the tree, close by.
Here's like a mailbox slot in a door.
And
Like that's all that's left.
Well, they showed it. They gave it like an old barrel to live in, but it worked, and it had a baby. And like
Baby.
this
How
cup,
did they get out?
I guess they peck at it at that point. There's ways out.
Listen, if you're gonna be that fucking specific,
Oh, you deserve to go extinct? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
yeah.
Survival of the
Like,
fittest.
listen, we're part of this world too. So you gotta,
Yeah,
get
but
more
we're-
flexible with your habitats, beach.
We're smart enough to say, "Oh, look what we've done," so therefore we should
No, I
help
agree
protect
with you,
this thing.
but I just like that other argument.
But it is funny. It's like it's so difficult. It's like
Don't make it so hard for yourself, bird.
it's not having babies. They're not mating.
Well, and like pandas, let them go extinct. They're not fucking. It's not our fault at this point. Oh, it's so rare. Like they'll barely exist on their own. Right? Don't they have trouble like living on their own?
You've just ruined all your goodwill that you built with this show.
I agree.
They're saying let them go extinct to the panda.
I agree.
I hear what
I don't
you're
really
saying.
believe that, but it's just a thought process of like, well, then what's the deal? What are we supposed to do?
Well, survival of the fittest, do you think would be easy reproduction, easier, not so
Yeah.
specific?
Yeah.
It's interesting that
Mm-hmm.
stuff evolves naturally. I'm going to lock myself in this hollowed out tree with my poop.
Yep.
And you're going to bring me food, and you're just going to know to bring me food.
Yeah. How do they know? Have you seen those things where like people are teaching dogs and cats and even birds to communicate with them and how awesome it works?
No, I haven't seen this.
Oh my
Is it
God,
on
there's these
TikTok?
dogs.
Is it all over TikTok?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is where you're seeing this.
Yeah. It
I mean,
is.
that doesn't mean it's not
if
happening.
it wasn't
It's
on
just,
TikTok, it would be some other platform. So what am I going to do?
That's why I haven't seen it. How are they communicating?
They have these buttons on the ground and you start training them to understand what the different buttons mean. And then they start using them. So like, I think one of them was the woman had taken the dog's like little pool that it plays in outside. She had taken it up and like had cleaned it and put it away. And he went over to the button that said mad. Like he presses it with his paws. Mad. You're mad? Mad. Pool.
All right, I'll
Bye.
look it up. Maybe I can find it not on TikTok.
It's really interesting. And like I've mostly seen the two dogs do it, but then I saw this bird that was like playing this game, and the person that was holding up the game for the bird to play changed it and was doing something else, and the bird was like, no, back, game. Like tracing, like wanted to keep tracing with its beak or whatever. It's just really interesting. And again, it's like maybe there's all kinds of stuff going around all around us, but we just don't pay attention to it. And we think like, oh, animals are dumb, which they are, but like, maybe
See,
not. Maybe
why'd
they're
you
smarter
feel-
than we think.
Why'd you feel a need to say that?
Well, because I feel like there are some dogs that have some, I don't know, just like personality, intelligence.
No, why'd you feel a need to say they are dumb, which they are?
Well, I was saying because sometimes they are dumb. Like sometimes you get a dog and it's just fucking dumb. Just like just people, But I think that sometimes there are animals that are probably, like maybe we could communicate with them. Maybe they can communicate.
I mean,
Like I think Eric talks about like whales are supposed to be so smart, but no whale's ever been a Shakespeare. It's like, well, that's a totally different metric that you're measuring. You know what I mean? You're using a human metric to measure a different species animal intelligence. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. Maybe there is like a Mozart whale. We just don't know about it because we don't know what to look for.
Yeah, he plays the different shells, discarded clam shells at the bottom of the ocean. Like, wow, look what he did. It's because they don't have thumbs. We've already established this. If they had thumbs and a language,
Yeah.
than if they weren't also in water. I'm sorry. It's amazing that mammals survive in water and that they survive as well as they do, but it severely limits what you can do.
That's true.
Even if you're really smart, you can't invent an electric keyboard to create
But
your
what
music.
about maybe they feel the same way about us? Like we can't survive in the water.
I mean, sure, maybe they would invent an underwater piano, but I just don't think that the piano.
Again, you're using human metric against something.
I would be interested then to see what kind of instruments they would create under the water.
Why is it? Does that have to be an instrument?
Because we're talking about them writing music.
No. That was the comparison that I was giving the example that was wrong.
Sure, but I'm saying that they could, even if they had the ability to write music and they had the thumbs to build the instruments to play the music, it's still limited because they're under fucking water.
They could be thinking and communicating in such a way that we
I know what you're
don't
saying.
have any concept of how of how to even interpret what's happening.
I'm just
And so
saying.
we just think it doesn't exist.
Living underwater, you can't even build a bed. You can't even have a bed to sleep on underwater.
Stop it.
It's a bad
Stop
place to
being
live.
dumb on purpose.
It's a terrible place to live underwater.
I'm sure they feel the same way about living above water.
No, I guarantee a dolphin likes the idea. It's like, I wish I could just...
Up where they walk,
You know, the
up
fact
where they run.
the fact that they have to sleep with half their brains constantly going.
That's fine. That's fine for them. They probably are looking at us like, man, they just lay there all night.
Yeah, but they probably
What a
love
waste
the
of
idea.
time.
I would love to curl up in a bed and just rest.
Fucking hate you.
Rest. I would like to rest for a little bit. Okay.
Maybe sharks feel like that, always having to move. That
No,
makes me stressed out.
Sharks are dumb.
Ah!
Yeah, that's all they think.
Do they make a noise?
Do they make noises? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think sharks really make noises.
How do they communicate with each other?
I don't think they do. They don't care.
Really?
Maybe
They seem so big.
Maybe they shoot scents out of their butts. And they
Shark farts.
They breathe the scents, and that's how they...
Shark farts. That's how they communicate.
I don't think they make noises, though. Anyway.
All right.
Well, thanks
If you know
for-
how sharks communicate.
Thanks for the input today, though. The insight, the teachings
Yeah.
and learnings.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful. Maybe. Maybe it's interesting. Oh,
I think it
I
was.
think it is. Okay.
I think it's more interesting, your interest in it,
Yeah.
your excitement about it, your enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'm really liking it. Anyway, thank you guys. Love you. Listen, like, subscribe. Hoffandpepper.com. One topic 15%. 15% off. Do it. Bye.
Here's the thing about sharks. They don't make sounds. Across 400 to 500 species, no one has ever found an organ even capable of making sound.
How do they communicate?
The closest is the New Zealand shark that barks by expelling water.
Farting, like you said.
Well, we don't know where it expels water. Could
Shark
be its
farts.
mouth. It could be a mouth fart. Mallard.
Matter.
I don't know what is going on today. I'm combining words. Real lazy speaking today. Okay.
Use body language. Opening their jaws, nodding their heads, and arcing their bodies can be social signs as two sharks, quote, talk to each other.
But no sound.
No sound. Nothing. Not even like echo, like boop, 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 boop.
Which sounds like the song that's playing right now to take us out.